The black ships came from the void between stars. They moved like dark shadows against the star field, their hulls gleaming with alien metal. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the human warship Defiant, watching the enemy fleet approach. Earth's solar system. His hands gripped the metal railing as alarms echoed through the corridors. How many ships? Jake asked his weapons officer. 37 vessels, sir, Lieutenant Roy Baker replied, his voice tight with worry. They're bigger than anything we've ever built. Jake nodded slowly. He had commanded the Defiant for 3 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Earth's first contact with alien life was not going to be peaceful. The ships moved with purpose, their formation perfect and deadly. On Luna Station, Admiral Lisa Carter watched the same displays. She had gray hair and tired eyes, but her mind was sharp. For 20 years, she had prepared Earth's defenses for this day. Now it was here, and she felt the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. Send the message, she ordered. All frequencies. The communication went out across space in every language Earth knew. It was simple. We come in peace. We wish to talk. The alien ships did not slow down. Commander Vexthal stood in the command center of his flagship. He was tall and thin, with purple skin that gleamed under the ship's lights. His race, the Zilithians, had conquered 47 worlds. Earth would be number 48. These humans, he said to his second officer, they seem weak. Their ships are small. Their weapons are simple. Yes, Commander, replied Sub-Commander Kixnuth. This should be easy. Vexthal had read the reports. Humans lived on only one world. They fought among themselves. They had no real space fleet. Just a few ships built for defense. Nothing more. Send them our terms, Vexthal ordered. The message reached Earth within minutes. Dr. Amy Walsh, the planet's best language expert, worked with her team to decode it. The alien words were strange, but their meaning was clear. They want us to surrender, Amy told Admiral Carter over the communication link. 72 hours. If we don't give up, they'll destroy every city on Earth. Lisa Carter felt cold fear in her stomach. Can we fight them? Our ships are no match for theirs, reported General Paul Davis from the war room. They have better weapons, better shields, better everything. On Earth's surface, Dr. Nathan Cole was studying the first images of the alien ships. He was a scientist who had spent his life wondering about life among the stars. Now he wished he had never found it. Look at this, he said to his assistant. Their ship design is perfect. No wasted space, no unnecessary parts. These beings have been building warships for a very long time. Meanwhile, Captain Morrison prepared his crew for battle. The Defiant was Earth's most advanced ship, but it felt like a toy compared to the alien fleet. His crew was good, but they were about to face an enemy that had never lost a war. Sir, called out Major Susan Clark from the yaw. Pilot seat, I'm getting strange readings from the planet's surface. Jake moved to her station. What kind of readings? Energy signatures. Very faint, but they're coming from old monuments. Stonehenge, the pyramids, places like that. Jake frowned. Probably just electrical interference from all the panic down. There. But Susan wasn't so sure. The readings were too organized, too purposeful. She had been a pilot for 10 years, and she had never seen anything like this dot in a small office in the Vatican. Father Marcus Stone was reading old books by candlelight. The power grid was being saved for the military, so most of the city was dark. But Marcus had found something important in the ancient texts. The star-touched ones, he whispered to himself, reading from a book that was 800 years old. They will return when the Watchers call. He had seen similar words in books from different countries, different religions. All of them spoke of people who came from the stars long ago. People who looked like humans, but were much more. Marcus reached for his phone to call someone, anyone who might listen. But who would believe an old priest reading fairy tales? Dr. Helen Price was not reading fairy tales. She was a quantum physicist working in a secret facility in Alaska. Her instruments were showing impossible readings. Every ancient site on Earth was giving off energy. The pattern was too perfect to be natural. This makes no sense, she told her team. These monuments are thousands of years old. They're just stone and metal. They can't generate quantum energy. But the readings were real. And they were getting stronger. Commander Vextel watched his fleet move closer to Earth. The humans had sent more messages, all asking for peace. He almost felt sorry for them. They seemed so young, so hopeful. But the Zilithian Empire had rules. Weak species must surrender or die. Prepare the bombardment weapons, he ordered. If they don't surrender in 72 hours, we destroy their major cities first. Then we take what we want from their world. His officers nodded and began their preparations. None of them noticed the small energy readings their sensors were picking up from Earth's surface. The readings were too weak to be weapons, too scattered to be defenses. They were wrong. As the alien deadline approached, Jake Morrison stood in his quarters, looking out at the stars. Tomorrow, humanity would either surrender or fight and die. He thought about his wife back on Earth, about the children who would never grow up if the aliens attacked. He didn't know that deep beneath the ground, in places his ancestors had built, thousands of years ago, something was waking up, something that had been sleeping for a very long time. The 72 hours were almost over. Earth's fate hung in the balance, and neither the humans nor the aliens knew what was really about to happen. The first part of humanity's greatest test was about to begin. The first sign appeared at dawn on the second day. A farmer in England was walking past Stonehenge when he saw it. The ancient stones were glowing with a soft blue light. He rubbed his eyes, thinking he was seeing things. But the light was real, within. Hours, reports came from around the world. The Great Pyramid in Egypt was glowing. The Easter Island statues were humming with energy. Ancient temples in Asia were warming up, even though it was winter. Dr. Helen Price got the call at 3 a.m. Her assistant was excited and scared at the same time. "Doctor, you need to see this. The energy readings are off the charts. Every ancient site on Earth is active." Helen rushed to her laboratory. The instruments showed energy patterns she had never seen before. The power was coming from deep underground, from structures that weren't supposed to exist. "This is impossible," she whispered. "These monuments are just stones. They can't generate this kind of energy." But the numbers didn't lie. Something was happening, something that science couldn't explain. Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner was flying a scout mission when his ship's computers started acting strange. He was near the Pyramid of Giza when his weapon system suddenly became more powerful. His engines ran smoother. His shields grew stronger. "Control, this is Turner." He radioed back to base. "Something's wrong with my ship. All systems are performing above normal levels." "Define above normal," came the reply. Alex looked at his readings. "My ship is running at 200% efficiency. That should be impossible." His co-pilot, Major Susan Clark, was studying the energy readings from the pyramid below. "Alex, look at this. The energy from the pyramid is somehow connecting to our ship's computer." Alex frowned. "That's crazy. How can a pile of old stones connect to our technology?" Susan didn't have an answer, but she was getting strange feelings, like memories that weren't her own. She saw images of star maps, of technologies that didn't exist yet. The visions were brief, but very clear. "I think something is happening to me," she told Alex quietly. Commander Vextel was getting worried. His sensors were detecting the energy signatures from Earth's surface, but he didn't understand what they meant. The readings were too organized to be natural, but too weak to be weapons. "Sub-Commander Kixmoth," he called. "What are these energy readings?" Kixmoth studied the data carefully. "I don't know, sir. They don't match any known technology, but the patterns suggest intelligence behind them." Vexthal felt a chill run down his spine. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. The humans seemed primitive, but these readings suggested something else entirely. "Keep monitoring," he ordered, "and prepare for any surprises." Dr. Nathan Cole was working day and night to understand the alien language. His team had made progress, but what they learned was disturbing. The aliens had words for humans that they used among themselves, words they didn't use when talking to Earth. "They call us the Inheritors," Amy Walsh told him. But when I asked them what that meant, they wouldn't answer. Nathan felt his blood run cold. Inheritors of what? I don't know. But the way they say it, it's like they're afraid of us. That seemed impossible. The aliens had better weapons, better ships, better everything. What could they possibly fear from humans? Father Marcus Stone was still reading his ancient books, but now he had help. Other historians and religious scholars were calling him, sharing their own discoveries. The pattern was clear across all cultures and all time periods. "Look at this," said Dr. Peter Williams, a historian from Oxford. "The Mayans wrote about sky people who went to sleep in the earth. The ancient Chinese spoke of star ancestors who would return. The Egyptians called them the first ones," Marcus nodded. "And they all described the same thing. People who came from the stars, who looked like us, who had great power. But where did they go?" Peter asked. Marcus looked at the reports coming in from around the world. Ancient monuments glowing with energy. Maybe they didn't go anywhere. Maybe they're still here. Dr. Helen Price was seeing the same thing. Her instruments showed that the energy wasn't coming from the monuments themselves. It was coming from something deep underground, something that connected all the ancient sites around the world. "It's like a network," she told her team. "All these sites are connected by some kind of quantum field we've never detected before." Her assistant, Dr. Gary Adams, was studying the patterns. "Doctor, look at this. The energy spikes happen when people gather near the monuments. The more people, the stronger the signal." Helen stared at the data. "You're saying the energy responds to humans?" "Not just responds. It's like it's connecting to them somehow." Captain Jake Morrison was experiencing this connection firsthand. His ship, the Defiant, was performing better than ever before. His crew was working with perfect coordination. Their reaction times were faster. Their thinking was clearer. "Sir," reported Chief Engineer Roy Baker, "the ship's computer is learning from us. It's adapting to our thought patterns, becoming more efficient." Jake felt it too. When he sat in the captain's chair, he could sense the ship's systems as if they were part of his own body. The feeling was strange, but not unpleasant. "How is this possible?" he asked. Roy shook his head. "I don't know, sir, but it's happening to other ships too. The entire fleet is reporting similar improvements." On the alien flagship, Commander Vexthel was receiving reports from his intelligence officers. They had intercepted human communications about the glowing monuments and the energy readings. "Sir," reported his chief analyst, "our database shows similar phenomena on other worlds we've visited, always associated with ruins of the architect civilization." Vexthel felt his blood freeze. "The architects? Are you certain?" "The energy signatures match, sir, but that's impossible. The architects disappeared thousands of years ago." Vexthel knew the stories. Every species in the galaxy knew about the architects. They were the first great civilization, the ones who built the ancient technologies that other species still couldn't understand. They had ruled a vast part of the galaxy before mysteriously vanishing. If the architects are involved, Vextal said slowly, then these humans are not what they seem. The deadline was approaching. Only 24 hours remained before the Zilithians would attack. But both sides were beginning to realize that this was not going to be an ordinary conquest. On Earth, millions of people were gathering at the ancient sites. They came without being asked, drawn by something they couldn't explain. As they gathered, the energy grew stronger. Susan Clark was flying another mission when the visions came again. This time, they were clearer. She saw great cities among the stars. She saw technologies that could heal worlds or destroy them. She saw beings who looked human, but were something more. "Alex," she said quietly, "I think I'm remembering something." "But it's not my memory." Alex looked at her with concern. "What do you mean?" "I think these monuments, this energy, it's waking something up inside us, something that was always there, just sleeping." The 72 hours were almost over. The alien fleet was preparing to attack. But deep beneath the earth, in chambers, that had been sealed for thousands of years, ancient systems were coming online. Humanity's true nature was about to be revealed. The 72 hours were up. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiant, waiting for the alien attack. His crew was ready to fight, even though they knew they would probably die. But the attack never came. Instead, a message arrived from the alien fleet. Commander Vextel wanted to talk. "Admiral Carter," Jake reported over the communication link, "the alien commander is requesting a meeting. He wants to come aboard our ship." Lisa Carter was surprised. "Why would he want to talk now? The deadline is over." "I don't know, ma'am. But he sounds ... scared." An hour later, Vextel's shuttle docked with the Defiant. The alien commander was tall and thin, with purple skin and large dark eyes. When he walked onto the bridge, his hands were shaking. "Captain Morrison," Vextel said through his translator device, "we need to talk. There has been a terrible mistake." Jake studied the alien's face. "What kind of mistake?" Vextel took a deep breath. "We are not the first to find your world. We thought you were dead. We thought your species was extinct." "What are you talking about?" Jake asked. "For thousands of years, 7 different civilizations have found Earth. All of them sent reports that humans were gone. Extinct. Some said you had left the planet. Others said you had died out. We came here expecting to find empty ruins." "Admiral." Carter joined the conversation by video link. "You're saying other aliens have been here before?" "Yes," Vextel nodded. "And they all fled. Something scared them away, but they never said what." Dr. Amy Walsh was listening to the conversation from her translation center. She had been studying the alien language for 3 days, and she had found something disturbing in their databases. "Admiral," she interrupted, "I've been analyzing their computer files. They have dozens of words that relate to humans. Words like, first ones, ancient enemy, and the sleeping gods." Vextel's face went pale. "You understand our language?" "Enough to know you're not telling us everything," Amy replied. "Your people aren't conquerors. You're scavengers. You only attack worlds that have been abandoned by someone else." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. Abandoned by who? Vextel looked around the bridge nervously. By the architects. The first great civilization. They built cities on thousands of worlds, then disappeared. We thought you were just another species that had been left behind." "But we're not," said Susan Clark from her pilot station. She had been quiet during the meeting, but now she spoke up. "We're not the ones who were left behind. We're the ones who left." Everyone turned to look at her. "What do you mean?" Jake asked. Susan's eyes were distant, as if she was seeing something far away. "The visions I've been having, they're not visions. They're memories." Genetic memories passed down through our DNA. Dr. Nathan Cole, who had been studying the alien databases, suddenly understood. The architects. They weren't aliens at all. They were human. The bridge fell silent. Commander Vexthel was staring at the humans with growing fear. "That's impossible," he whispered. "The architects ruled half the galaxy. They had technology beyond anything we've ever seen. And then they disappeared," Susan continued, her voice dreamy. "They didn't die. They didn't leave. They chose to sleep. They scattered themselves across suitable worlds and went into a kind of hibernation." Dr. Helen Price's voice came over the communication system from her laboratory in Alaska. "The energy. Readings make sense now. The monuments aren't just markers. They're part of a network. A network designed to wake up the sleeping architects when the time was right." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "You're saying we're not just humans. We're the descendants of this architect civilization." "More than descendants," Susan said. "We are the architects. We just forgot who we were." Commander Vexthel was backing toward the door. "This cannot be true. The architects were gods among the stars. Humans are primitive, weak. Are we?" asked Chief Engineer Roy Baker. He was looking at his instruments with new understanding. "Our ship is performing at levels that should be impossible. Our computers are learning from us. We're interfacing with technology in ways that shouldn't work." Dr. Nathan Cole was accessing the alien databases with ease now, his mind somehow understanding systems that had been designed by completely different species. The architects didn't disappear. They evolved. They chose to become fully biological again, to experience life as natural beings. But why? Admiral Carter asked. Father Marcus Stone's voice came over the communication system. The old priest had been listening from his office in the Vatican. "Because they were lonely. I've been reading the ancient texts. The architects were the only advanced species in the galaxy. They ruled over primitive civilizations, but they had no equals. Number. Friends. So they chose to sleep," Susan continued, "and wait for other species to evolve, to grow, to become worthy of friendship instead of subjects." Vexthel was shaking now. "The trigger. What was the trigger that woke you up?" Dr. Helen Price answered. From her laboratory. Contact with a species that had developed beyond simple conquest. A species capable of growth and creativity. "Your people, Commander. You're the first civilization we've encountered that creates instead of just destroys." "But we do destroy," Vexthel protested. "We've conquered 47 worlds." "You've conquered worlds that were already empty," Amy Walsh corrected. "You've never fought a war against an equal enemy. You've never had to grow or adapt. Until now." Jake was beginning to understand. The other alien species that found Earth. They weren't advanced enough to trigger the awakening. They were just scavengers, like you thought you were. "But we're different," Vexthel said slowly. "We build things. We create art. We have philosophy and science." "Exactly," Susan smiled. "You're ready for contact with equals. That's what woke us up." Around the world, the awakening was accelerating. Millions of humans were gathering at the ancient sites. As they did, their minds began to change. They started to remember things their ancestors had known. Technologies that had been lost for thousands of years became clear to them. Dr. Helen Price was watching the readings with amazement. "The quantum network is fully active now. I'm detecting similar energy signatures from other star systems. There are more sleeping architect colonies out there, and they're all waking up." Captain Jake Morrison felt the change in himself. His understanding of the ship's systems was becoming perfect. He could sense the quantum fields that held the universe together. He could feel the minds of his crew as they underwent the same transformation. "Commander Vexthel," he said gently, You don't need to be afraid. We're not going to conquer you. We're not going to rule over you. We want to be your friends." Vexthal looked around the bridge at the humans. They were changing before his eyes, becoming something more than they had been. But they were still kind, still gentle. "What happens now?" he asked. Admiral Carter answered from Luna Station. "Now we learn from each other. Your people have explored the galaxy while we slept. You know what's out there. We have technologies that were developed over millions of years. Together, we can build something better than either of us could create alone." The revelation was complete. Humanity was not the primitive species it had appeared to be. They were the awakened remnants of the galaxy's first great civilization, and they were ready to take their place among the stars once again. But this time, they would not rule. They would teach. They would help. They would be the friends they had always wanted to have. The universe was about to change forever. The awakening spread across Earth like wildfire. In New York, construction worker Bill Martinez found himself understanding quantum physics without ever studying it. In Tokyo, school teacher Linda Chong discovered she could interface with computers, using only her thoughts. In London, farmer Tom Williams realized he could sense the energy patterns of living things. Dr. Helen Price was documenting everything from her laboratory in Alaska. The transformation wasn't random. Each person was developing abilities that matched their natural talents, but enhanced far beyond normal human limits. "It's like we're becoming specialized," she told her team. "Engineers are developing perfect understanding of complex systems. Doctors are gaining the ability to sense disease at the molecular level. Artists are creating works that seem to generate their own energy." Captain Jake Morrison was experiencing the change firsthand. His connection to the Defiant was now complete. He could feel every system in the ship as if it were part of his own body. When he thought about a course correction, the ship responded instantly. When he needed information, the computer shared it directly with his mind. "This is incredible," he told Admiral Carter during their daily briefing. "The ship and I are working as one unit now. I can process battle information faster than our computers used to be able to calculate it." Chief Engineer Roy Baker was having similar experiences. "Sir, the ship's AI is learning from all of us. It's becoming more creative, more intuitive. Yesterday, it suggested a new engine configuration that improved our speed by 40%. But the most dramatic changes were happening to the people who spent time near the ancient monuments." Susan Clark had been stationed at the Pyramid of Giza to study the energy readings. After 3 days there, she could see quantum energy patterns with her naked eyes. "The network is enormous," she reported to Dr. Nathan Cole. "I can sense connections reaching across the galaxy. There are other colonies out there, other groups of sleeping architects, and they're all waking up." Dr. Cole was experiencing his own transformation. His ability to understand alien languages had become perfect. He could now read the databases of 6 different species as easily as reading English. More importantly, he was beginning to understand the deeper history of the galaxy. The architects weren't just advanced, he told Amy Walsh. They were the first species to develop true quantum consciousness. They could connect their minds across vast distances. They could share knowledge instantly. That's how they built such an advanced civilization so quickly. Amy was studying the ancient texts that Father Marcus Stone had discovered. With her enhanced abilities, she could now read languages that had been dead for thousands of years. The architects faced a choice, she said. They could continue to rule over primitive species, or they could give those species time to develop. They chose to sleep and wait for others to catch up. Commander Vexthal was still aboard the Defiant, working with the human crew to understand what was happening. His own people were frightened by the changes they were seeing in the humans, but Vexthal was fascinated. "Your abilities are growing every day," he observed. How far will this go? Jake Morrison considered the question. I don't think we're becoming superhuman. I think we're becoming fully human. We're accessing abilities that were always part of our species, just dormant. Dr. Helen Price confirmed this from her research. The genetic changes are following patterns that were already in human DNA. We're not becoming something new. We're becoming what we were always meant to be. The awakening was not limited to Earth. Susan Clark's quantum senses had detected other colonies throughout the galaxy, and they were all undergoing the same transformation. Humans who had been living simple lives on frontier worlds were suddenly building technologies that surpassed anything the Zilithians had ever seen. There are hundreds of colonies, Susan reported. Maybe thousands. They were all established during the Great Diaspora, when the architects scattered themselves across the galaxy. Admiral Carter was coordinating contact with these rediscovered human settlements. We've made contact with 17 colonies so far. They're all experiencing the awakening. They're all developing new technologies. The implications were staggering. Humanity was not just one primitive species on one small world. They were a galactic civilization that had been sleeping for millennia, and now they were waking up. But the awakening brought challenges as well as opportunities. Not all humans were adapting well to their new abilities. Some were overwhelmed by the sudden expansion of their consciousness. Others were frightened by the responsibility that came with advanced technology. Dr. Amy Walsh was working with psychologists around the world to help people cope with the changes. We need to remember that we're still human, she reminded everyone. We still have human emotions, human needs, human weaknesses. The technology doesn't change that. Father Marcus Stone had become an unofficial spiritual advisor for the awakening. The ancient texts speak of wisdom as well as power, he told groups of confused humans. The architects learned that knowledge without compassion leads to loneliness. That's why they chose to sleep. They chose to start over. The Zilithians were struggling to understand their place in this new galaxy. Commander Vex Thiel's superiors had ordered him to withdraw immediately, but it was too late. Human ships, enhanced by their awakened crews, could now outrun anything in the Zilithian fleet. We cannot escape, Vex Thiel reported to his homeworld. But I do not think we need to. These humans... They are not conquerors. They want to help us. Sub-Commander Kicksmith was studying the human technologies with growing amazement. Sir, they're sharing their knowledge freely. They're teaching us how to improve our own ships, our own weapons. Why would they do this? Vex Thol smiled. Because they remember being lonely. They don't want to be alone anymore. The breakthrough came when Dr. Nathan Cole discovered the archives. Hidden within the quantum network that connected all the ancient monuments was a vast library of information. The complete history of the architect civilization was stored there, waiting for their descendants to rediscover it. This is incredible, he told the assembled scientists and government leaders. Everything is here. The reasons for the diaspora, the technology they developed, the philosophical frameworks they created, it's all preserved in quantum storage. The archives revealed that the architects had been peaceful by choice, not by nature. They had developed weapons that could destroy entire star systems, but they had chosen not to use them. They had the ability to control other species completely, but they had chosen to step back and let others develop freely. They were tired of being gods, Dr. Cole summarized. They wanted to be people again. Admiral Carter was coordinating the establishment of new communication networks between the awakened colonies. We're not rebuilding the old architect empire, she made clear. We're creating something new. A network of equal partners, sharing knowledge and resources. The quantum network that had awakened humanity was being expanded and improved. Dr. Helen Price was working with awakened humans across the galaxy to create communication systems that could connect any 2 points in space instantly. We're not. Just talking to each other, she explained. We're sharing consciousness. Scientists on Earth can collaborate directly with engineers on colonies hundreds of light years away. We're becoming a true galactic community. Captain Jake Morrison was leading the first joint missions between human and Zilithian crews. The cooperation was remarkable. Zilithian knowledge of current galactic conditions, combined with awakened human technology, was producing results that neither species could have achieved alone. We're finding other species, he reported. Civilizations that have been hiding in the outer regions of the galaxy. They've been waiting for the architects to return. The awakening was accelerating toward its final phase. Millions of humans now had access to technologies that had been lost for thousands of years. The ancient monuments had transformed from simple stone structures into massive quantum computers, processing information at speeds that defied understanding. But the most important change was not technological. It was philosophical. Humanity was remembering not just how to build advanced civilizations, but why they should build them. The purpose was not conquest or domination. It was growth, cooperation, and the joy of discovery. The galaxy was about to change forever, and humanity was ready to lead that change. Not as rulers, but as teachers. Not as conquerors, but as friends. The final awakening was about to begin. 6 months after the first contact, the galaxy was a different place. The awakening had reached its full potential, and humanity had reclaimed its place among the stars. But they had not returned as conquerors. They had returned as gardeners, helping other species grow and flourish. Captain Jake Morrison now commanded not just the Defiant, but an entire fleet of ships that combined human and Zilithian technology. The vessels were works of art as much as weapons, beautiful and powerful, but designed for exploration and protection, not conquest. Status report, he requested from his bridge crew, which now included both humans and Zilithians working side by side. All systems operating at optimal levels, reported Sub-Commander Kicksmouth, who had chosen to serve aboard the human flagship. The quantum network is stable across 47 star systems. Jake smiled. The quantum network that had awakened. Humanity was now serving as the backbone of galactic communication. Any species that joined the network could communicate instantly with any other member, regardless of distance. Dr. Helen Price was working on Earth to expand the network even further. The ancient monuments had been transformed into massive quantum resonators, but they were just the beginning. New installations were being built on dozens of worlds, each one designed to enhance the natural abilities of whatever species lived there. We're not just giving technology to other species, she explained to a gathering of galactic ambassadors. We're helping them discover their own potential. Every species has unique abilities that can be enhanced through quantum resonance. The results were remarkable. The Zilithians, who had been scavengers and conquerors, were discovering artistic abilities they never knew they possessed. Their ships, once purely functional, were now beautiful works of art that could travel faster and farther than ever before. We never imagined we could create such beauty, Commander Vexthal told Admiral Carter during a diplomatic meeting. Your people have taught us that strength and beauty can exist together. Admiral Carter nodded. That's what the architects learned long ago. Technology without wisdom leads to destruction. Beauty without purpose leads to emptiness. But when you combine them all, you get something greater than the sum of its parts. The awakening had revealed other species that had been hiding in the galaxy's outer regions. The ethereals were beings of pure energy who had been waiting for thousands of years for the architects to return. The crystalline collective were silicon-based, life forms who had preserved ancient knowledge in their mineral structures. The void swimmers were creatures who lived in the space between stars, watching and waiting. Dr. Nathan Cole was working with representatives from all these species to establish the first truly galactic government. It was not an empire or a federation, but something new, a cooperative network where each species contributed its unique abilities to the common good. "We're calling it the Galactic Accord," he explained to the assembled delegates. "Not because we're in agreement about everything, but because we're in harmony. Like instruments in an orchestra, each species plays a different part, but together we create something beautiful." The Accord was headquartered on Earth, but not because humanity was in charge. Earth had become the center of the quantum network, the point where all the galactic communications flowed together. It was a natural choice, for the seat of government. Father Marcus Stone had been chosen as Earth's cultural ambassador. The old priest found himself working with beings he had only read about in ancient texts. His job was to help different species understand each other's cultures and beliefs. Every species has its own way of understanding the universe, he told a gathering of religious leaders from across the galaxy. The ethereals see reality as patterns of energy. The crystalline collective experiences time differently than we do. The void swimmers understand space in ways we're just beginning to learn, but we all share the same desire to grow and learn. The transformation of human society had been remarkable. Dr. Amy Walsh was now directing the Galactic Institute of Languages, where representatives from dozens of species worked together to create new forms of communication. They weren't just translating words, but sharing thoughts and emotions across completely different forms of consciousness. "We're not trying to make everyone the same," Amy explained. "We're trying to make it possible for everyone to understand each other." A crystalline being thinks in geological timescales. A human thinks in years and decades. An ethereal thinks in quantum moments. But through the network, we can share these different perspectives. Chief Engineer Roy Baker had become the director of the Galactic Engineering Corps. His job was to help different species combine their technologies in ways that benefited everyone. The results were beyond anything anyone had imagined. "Look at this," he said, showing holographic displays to a group of young engineers from 12 different species. "When we combine human quantum technology with Zilithian energy systems and crystalline data storage, we get computers that can process information at speeds that approach the limits of physics itself." The new technologies were being used not for war, but for healing. Diseases that had plagued species for millennia were being cured. Worlds that had been damaged by pollution or war were being restored. The galaxy was becoming a garden, carefully tended by its inhabitants. Susan Clark had become the chief navigator for the Galactic Exploration Fleet. Her quantum senses, enhanced by the awakening, could detect habitable worlds from light years away. She was leading the search for new species that might be ready to join the Accord. "We found 17 new civilizations in the past 3 months," she reported during a fleet meeting. "Most of them are still developing, but 3 are advanced. Enough for contact. We're preparing first contact protocols that respect their unique cultures." The first contact protocols were very different from the old days of conquest and domination. Instead of demanding surrender, the Accord offered friendship. Instead of imposing their technology, they shared knowledge. Instead of ruling, they taught. Dr. Helen Price was working on the most ambitious project yet, a network that would connect not just star systems, but entire galaxies. "The architects weren't limited to this galaxy," she explained to a council of scientists. "There are dormant colonies in other galaxies, waiting to be awakened. We're going to reconnect them all." The project would take centuries to complete, but that was fine. The awakened humans had learned patience from their long sleep. They were thinking in terms of millions of years, not decades. Commander Vex Thal had become the first non-human admiral in the combined fleet. His ships were exploring the galaxy's outer regions, searching for lost civilizations and forgotten knowledge. His crews were mixed, with humans, Zilithians, and representatives from other species working together. My people were scavengers, he told his mixed crew during a mission briefing. We took what others had left behind. But now we're explorers. We're creating new knowledge, new art, new ways of living. The humans didn't just wake up from their sleep. They woke up all of us. The galaxy was full of surprises. Ancient ruins on distant worlds were revealing technologies that even the architects had never developed. Some species had evolved abilities that complemented human quantum consciousness in unexpected ways. The universe was larger and more wonderful than anyone had imagined. But the greatest discovery was not technological. It was philosophical. The awakened humans had remembered something that all the ancient texts had tried to teach, that true power came not from ruling others, but from helping them grow. Captain Jake Morrison was leading the first expedition to another galaxy. His ship, enhanced with technologies from a dozen different species, could travel distances that would have been impossible just a year ago. His crew included representatives from every member of the Accord. We're not going to conquer, he told them as they prepared for the journey. We're going to learn. We're going to make friends. We're going to help other species discover their own potential. The ship disappeared into the quantum tunnel, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of an entire galaxy. Behind them, the Milky Way continued to grow and change as more species joined the Accord and added their unique gifts to the common good. On Earth, the ancient monuments continued to glow with soft blue light. Children played in their shadows, not knowing that they were the descendants of a civilization that had once ruled the stars. But they were learning, growing, preparing for the day when they too would take their place among the stars. The galaxy had been transformed, not by conquest or domination, but by friendship and cooperation. The awakened humans had not returned as gods or rulers. They had returned as teachers, gardeners, and friends. The universe was vast and full of wonders. And for the first time in thousands of years, humanity was not alone. They had found their place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as partners. In the greatest adventure of all, the discovery of what intelligent life could accomplish when it worked together, the story was just beginning. The galaxy was full of sleeping civilizations, waiting to be awakened. Other galaxies beckoned with their own mysteries and challenges. The universe was infinite, and so were the possibilities for growth, discovery, and friendship. Humanity had remembered its greatest power, not the ability to destroy, but the ability to create.